Welcome to The Shield Within. The issues discussed on the Shield Within podcast do not reflect the opinions of any specific agency. They are the views of the host and the guest. Any persons discussed may be fictional for comedic purposes only. This podcast is rated explicit and listener discretion is advised. Listening to The Shield Within may trigger repressed or suppressed memories or experiences. Please contact a mental health professional at your earliest convenience. It's time for the chaos to cease.
Time to open yourself to peace.
From the hours you've put in,
To the next shift you begin,
from the endless pursuit of release,
that finds the worst unleashed.
transform the ugly into a win.
Get to know your shield within.
Welcome.
Welcome.
To the Shield Within. And you hear the mother rampant giggling in the background. We have a special edition today that you all are going to be, I like to use my phrase of super excited, so we're going to stay on that there. We have the one, the only, Spinning Our Gears podcast. We have Turk, right? Say hello.
Turk.
Yeah, there we go.
How's it going?
And Nick.
Can I speak?
From the roll call room. Yes.
What up?
We were going to call this. We're going to call this a three-way, but that just seems creepy in more ways than one.
When there's four of us here, it's really complicated.
It's a three-way with somebody.
Or better known.
But Nick's in the middle, so
Somebody's got to hold the camera.
Right. Nick looks like he's driving a Bobcat, so I don't know what that's about.
I do.
So let's do a little business here. If you are on Facebook, stop by Facebook / The Shield Within, or RCR, or
rollcallroom.com.
Yeah, rollcallroom.com. Go ahead, Turk. What's all your goodies?
SpinningOurGears.com, or our Facebook is Spinning Our Gears OFF for Spinning Our Gears Official. Thanks a lot, Icarus.
I thought you meant fuck off. That's what that was. Spinning Our Gears off. Oh, got it. All right. Awesome. Or our website, which is theshieldwithin.com. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Turk, that's the first Facebook account, or that's not the one that got shut down, the second one, right?
Yeah, Spinning Our Gears OFF is the second Facebook because the first one got ceremoniously taken down.
No.
Yeah.
Unceremonious or ceremonious? Oh, no.
Well, whichever word you want to use for that, really. It got taken down because of a bunch of pussies. Yeah.
Multiple complaints.
Turns out, when you start making waves and your old agency catches wind of that, they do what they can to shut you up.
Oh, wow.
I would never do that. I would never, ever do that.
You've never experienced that before either, have you?
No, that's irresponsible.
Yes. So continuing on. If do what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, let's wrap the business up here. If you're listening to this on whatever platform you're on, please, all three shows, like, share, and follow. Mostly follow. I'm kind of learning that I don't think so much the yes checkbox. The likes in Facebook are okay, but they don't do as much as subscriptions and follows on your favorite podcast platform.
Yep.
That does a podcast better than anything else. We're on the gram, as well as Roll Call Room is, and Spinning Our Gears on the gram too. Yeah, we're all on the gram. So stop by and see us all. Check us all out. Like, share. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us all out on the business end. Dr. David.
Yes.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Ooh.
Can we make a rule real quick? If Dr. Dave is talking and my hand goes under the table, just don't make any comments at all. It's very, very hard to keep an erection while people are laughing at you.
Well, you look at me and you lose it, so don't worry about it. That's why I can't do threesomes, man. I'm the other guy's looking at me going, oh, man, stop looking at me, dude.
I see you, Nick. I see exactly what you're doing.
That didn't take long.
Yeah, we didn't. You didn't even ask the first question.
I know.
Why did Dr. Dave sign off?
So if you're watching this on YouTube, and you all should be watching us on YouTube.
Not Pornhub.
Not Pornhub, yeah.
Thank God.
That is awesome.
That's next week, man. Well, it's nice to meet you, Turk. I have begun listening to your podcast in preparation for today, and I enjoy listening to both you and Swagger. The most recent 2-part interview with Sergeant Zeke, I would recommend to anybody to check out, both parts, first and second. Very, very worthwhile listening to. And your overall inventory, there's plenty of stuff in there for lots of people to get interested in and listen to. I kind of, because of my background, got oriented to your episode from last June on mental health. And I listened to that very closely and enjoyed listening to you and Swagger trade perspectives, experiences, that kind of thing. And so I guess I'd kind of like to start there. And Nick, as being a part of our stuff before, knows that we all have a tremendous common ground for being aware of and emphasizing mental health for all first responders of all flavors, and how important that is to work with trauma. And it was nice to hear you and Swagger both say what we have been saying on the Shield Within from the beginning. If you're a first responder, have a therapist. I mean, just period. Just have a therapist. Absolutely. If you hook up with one straight out of the academy, you're a very smart human being. If you wait until the shit starts to fall from the sky and you still see somebody, well, you're still a pretty smart human being. But it's good to have that resource in your pocket, that tool in your belt, that when shit happens, it's not if, it's when and how much and how bad. You've got somebody you can call on the phone. Maybe you've met them already, which would be the really, really great thing to do. So you walk in the door, you know the face, you know the voice, you got the sense of the rhythm of the interaction, and you can walk in and take care of your business. Really important to me. So I kind of really keyed in on something we have been really trying to do almost from the very beginning, which is to emphasize the incredible importance of self-awareness. If you're not aware of what your own body, mind, heart, soul is doing, then you're probably never going to get to the point where you acknowledge, holy shit, I'm in trouble, and I need something bad now. So to me, a lot of what you and Swagger were talking about in that episode, which I recommend highly, is it starts with self-awareness. You know, what are my patterns of behavior? What am I doing with my life, with my family, with my heart, whatever? What am I doing? And that really led me to remember what Mark and I did on the way down to Kentucky to get the stellate ganglion block. We got an instrument that Joe Terry and the doctor have to do the jab, which is the results of the PCL5. Mm-hmm. And if anybody is a first responder and or family member of a first responder and wants to know if shit, do I have PTSD? Then you go online and you look up PCL5. And it's a list of 20 things, and then pretty much like the diagnostic manual, half of it's like about, the shit you've been through, the traumatic incidents, the events. And the other half is about like your patterns of behavior, anxiety, sleep disturbance, that kind of stuff. And you have a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 scoring thing. You add up your responses and take it slowly. Look at number 1 and then just ask yourself, is that true for me? And I was just thinking that would fit real well with what you and Swagger were talking about. It's almost safe to assume, I think it is safe to assume, that if you're in law enforcement, you're a trauma survivor.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. And so PCL5 is a nice way to kind of, check your own shit out. Start that self-awareness in a very objective fashion. Any reactions?
Hey, wake up. Go ahead, Turk.
I think just to add to that, I think it's so important that you have someone out there, relationship with someone out there that you can trust, that has a good, keen idea of your baseline and how you change going throughout your career.
Very good.
Because a lot of the stuff that I was noticing was stuff that I didn't see, and I didn't notice it until 5-6 years later.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that my wife didn't feel comfortable telling me. I think she didn't notice that I was changing as much either.
Very good.
But once it hit you and you notice it, it was like, kind of, what have I become? You know?
Yes.
Oh, most definitely.
Make sure you've got that person that can keep an eye on your baseline, who's checking in with you, and who has the balls to tell you, hey, man, you've changed.
Yeah.
Nick?
Yeah, I mean, Turk said it perfectly. I think when you're going through it, you don't really realize it. I think it's compounded when you leave. When you leave the job, you're like, I think it's because you're kind of alone in your thoughts. Like, I think when you're working, you're constantly working. You're constantly thinking about the next shift, or thinking about that overtime shift that you need, or vacation that's about to come up. How am I going to afford it? I got to work more. So you really don't have the time to think about it. And I think from what I remember when I left, and when I was going to therapy and I was taking medication, there was so much that was like the floodgates just kind of opened up.
Yeah.
And I think if I didn't have a really, really good therapist, I mean, we talk about it on your show. We've talked about it on mine. I think where folks really get confused is that they go and they talk to somebody and they're not comfortable with them, and then they rope therapy into that.
Yeah.
They're like, therapy doesn't work. Therapy is bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's not the case.
You were
it's
a guest.
not the case.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
know where you're going. I
couldn't shut my mouth off. Sorry. My ADD took over. David gouged me under the table. Was like, hits me with the cattle prod in the nuts. Shut up. Go ahead, Nick. I didn't mean that.
No, I know where I was on a show. I know where you were going. I was on a show, and it was a part in the show. I was a guest on the show, and the folks that had me on there were like, therapy is bullshit, and therapy doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And I sat back and I listened to what they were saying, and I said, you are doing therapy. And they're like, no, I'm not. Therapy is stupid. It doesn't work. It might work for other people. It doesn't work for me. You're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're talking about this stuff. You're doing therapy.
Right.
You're your own therapist.
Yeah.
But the problem is that if you don't get that third person, if you don't get that second person in the room with you, you're going to believe your own bullshit.
Oh, yes.
You're basically giving yourself therapy. You're giving yourself advice, and there's no neutral person to turn around and be like, no, that's not correct.
Right.
Like, that's not correct at all. Like, if I had a therapy session with Dr. Dave, he would be able to turn around and tell me. He'd say, no, that's not the right way to think. That's you're incorrect. And I think that's where most cops, they don't like being told that they're not correct.
What?
They don't like being told.
What?
Yeah.
Aren't we all in charge?
But I mean,
how dare you tell me something?
I'll pose this question to Turk, and I didn't mean to steal your thunder, Dr. Dave, which is,
go.
Year one as a cop, would you have even gone to therapy? Would you even believe that mental health was an integral part of your tools on your tool belt?
I didn't even know my ass from my mouth year one, let alone having the foresight to go talk to a therapist and have that, have that starting point. No, I would not have thought of that.
Yeah. And that was the big question is like when you're 1 to 5 years, you're just so entrenched in the job. You're just trying to make your mark,
man. Yes.
You're trying to be one of those folks that are hanging on the Bearcat, and you're trying to do all those cool things that are in the recruitment video. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
Mark and I have talked about this on RCR is that you get organizations that come to your police department that are suicide prevention organizations. And they come to your agency, and they spew out this stuff that is not the right things to reel you in to go get help.
Correct.
I don't want to hear somebody that's a professor come to my police department and tell me that I need help. I want to see a guy that's fucked up or that's tried to eat their gun Mark, me. I want to see that guy come up in front of roll call, some crusty dude that's been on the job for 20 years, and turn around and be like, "Listen, I was that dude. I had every fucking Thin Blue Line T-shirt. I had every challenge coin." Yeah, he's covering it right now.
I thought you were going to pull something out from behind the curtain. Oh my God, what's he getting? It looks black. It's cylindrical. Is this veins?
He's ready to cut her loose. She's paid her dues. But
sorry, total hijack.
No, you're good. So I mean, I was in honor guard just like Mark, and I was. Alexandria City, where I was a cop, was the host city for Police Week. So I met a tremendous amount of people. I got challenge coins up the ass and all this other stuff. Those are the folks that I want to hear from. And I think, Dr. Dave and I had a sidebar conversation before we hit record, and he had a perfect assessment of me, which is that I'm a shit starter. And I called out a national police organization on RCR, and it's only going to get worse because I'm going to start naming law enforcement suicide prevention organizations that take in money, and you look at what they're outputting. Graphics telling us how many people are killing, how many people are suffering, died from suicide,
right?
Is not a law enforcement suicide prevention organization. Sorry, you can make all the graphics you want in the fucking world,
right?
But at what point are you going to start rolling up your sleeves and start doing some dirty work?
Yes.
So I went on a tangent. I'm sorry.
Can I cover a couple things on that?
Absolutely, roll.
So the first part of that, when you talked about your first 5 years, would you go to a therapist? Think of how many times you were physically injured during those first 5 years that you kept it to yourself because you wanted to put in for K-9, you wanted to put in for SWAT, you didn't want to do this or that. It happens to all of us. The second part of it is you talked about the people that the admin are bringing in for this suicide prevention. It also speaks a lot from the admin when they're telling you, hey, there's a stigma out there we need to break down. If you need help, get help. But as soon as you get help and it puts a burden on us, we're going to find a way to get you the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I only want to help you until it no longer helps me.
Right.
Or unless I can get a photo out of it, or, something that's self-serving.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's a sad thing about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And Turk is so spot on about like getting hurt on the job, because I think we all have stories for days about getting hurt. And I refuse to go on light duty. I pride myself in almost 20 years never being on light duty. And I have worked with broken bones. I have was involved in a horrific car crash that cut my cruiser in half.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't know that.
Massive back. Oh, yeah, dude. I have pictures I could show you. A massive back injury. My wife had to come get me at the hospital, and I had to be wheeled out, and I couldn't walk. And I was on painkillers, and it was like on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I went back to work. And cold turkey stopped taking painkillers. So all shift on Monday, I was throwing up, just massive throwing up, massive pain. And I'm an idiot because now I look back and I should have gotten back surgery to fix that. Yeah, and now I'm hunched over, like I'm on Pornhub because I didn't take care of myself. So
Daddy's got to eat somehow.
Daddy's got to eat.
Well, but Nick, so the reason that you probably did that was because the other guys around you were telling you saw other people getting hurt. Well, I'm not going to report it because as soon as I do, I'm getting this yanked, or I'm not going to get selected for this, or they're going to refuse my training request. Yeah. And it's because of the history that they've shown. Yeah. Yep.
I was on the sergeant's list, and I was petrified that I wasn't going to get sergeant because I was not I was not in the popular crowd. Yep. I didn't go out to bonfires off duty and drink and act like a fool like all the other ones did. I wasn't a brown noser. I didn't kiss people's ass. So I had to work 10 times as hard. And believe it or not, what got me promoted was this moped larceny prevention program that I came up with. That's what got me promoted.
Wow.
And the only reason why I got promoted was because it was a finalist in an international crime prevention thing, the Goldstein Award for, I forgot what the fuck it was for, but I got a free trip to Miami, so it was awesome.
Oh wow!
I didn't win, but the department had no choice but to recognize it. And then I was on the sergeant's list, but I had gotten hurt just before that trip, and so what Turk speaks about is right up the he's 100% right, which is that you don't want to go get mental help because the moment that you do that, the bullseye that's put on top of you, and that's the stigma. That's the thing that we're all in all three podcasts are talking about is that until chiefs or international chief organizations, not one specifically, start cracking down on chiefs for making it impossible for you to report that stuff, it's just going to be a vicious cycle over and over and over and over and over.
Well, and I think that falls into
there's no mental health leave.
Right. Right. And in Ohio, they were pushing for retirement for PTSD, medical retirements for PTSD. So they've been kind of fighting that kind of. I really don't have an update on that. I forget what the House bill is on that.
It'll be 25, 30 years before that happens.
Oh, sure.
But you know the chiefs are shitting their pants hearing that.
Oh, yeah. Well, but then they're like, well, what do we do for recruitment? Well, who's the best recruiter? I tell you what, when I was happy at my job, I was the best fucking recruiter walking up and down the street every day. Hey, do you love your job?
Yep.
Yes. Do you like your job? No, I love my job. It's the best job in the world. And in many aspects, it still is. But I think that what do we want to call it? The some of the shit has floated to the top. I don't know of a better way to say it. And those people are the ones that's kind of making it bad. And of course right now we brought this up I think in some past conversations, whereas like if your kid came to you and said, do you want to be the police? Or I want to be the police, I would do everything in my power to talk them out of it. But if they wanted to, then they finally got to that point to where they were going to do it on their own, then you would support them in the end. But anyway, another question.
I would convince them to go to the FBI, and then they can just do search warrants on political figures all day long. Like that's what I mean. It's you don't get screamed out in the street,
right?
You don't have to worry about shitty shifts. You get paid well. You're under federal benefits, and you do a fraction of the job that the road knuckle dogs do,
right?
And you do all of this work for a 10-minute search warrant, and then another 2 years worth of work to investigate what you got off of that search warrant.
Right.
It is legitimately the biggest scam when it comes to law enforcement. And I have friends that are in the FBI and ATF and all that stuff. You know that I'm telling the truth. You know it's legit.
Yeah.
You watch Cops and Live PD, and you sit there with your hand in your pants and you get excited because that's real police work. And you're a fucking Xerox jockey. And you're in the khaki coalition.
Right.
I mean, listen, my fucking taxes are getting pulled after this episode.
Bring on the audit. David, what else you got up for us?
Well, I was wondering, listening to actually Nick and Turk and Swagger, all three of you, that again, a thing we talk a lot about, and we did the Wives on the Line episode, part 1, a few episodes ago, and we recorded part 2 last Friday, and both parts just knocked me out. They're excellent. But we talk a lot about what is shared by a policeman with spouse, family members, and I'm wondering, how did the three of you, as you were in your careers actively, and I get the impression that, Turk, you still are actively in law enforcement, how much of your reality, how did you decide what not to share with your spouse in particular?
I can go first. That's fine. Yeah. So at the beginning of my career, and I guess the sidebar is knowing that, she kind of has anxiety, and she's had family in law enforcement. So the beginning of my career, it was pretty hush hush. It was, hey, we arrested this, we had that. But I can remember specifically we had a standoff one night where a 16 or a 17-year-old had a gun inside of his house, and we were on perimeter. And I looked at my good buddy, Miggs, who was on perimeter with me, and I said, listen, you don't tell her any of this, because I know for a fact she'll flip out. But as we moved on, and I think as she became more confident that I knew my shit and that I knew good tactics, things like that, I would tell her a little more. I don't really tell her any, gory details unless it's kind of one of those, like, you're not going to believe this type of things. But I keep her more apprised now, because I think it's important that she knows what's going on, both, just back and forth between the two of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really, really good question, Dr. Dave. It's almost like you definitely belong on a podcast.
I would guess that he's been like in mental health for like 40 some years, but with an in-depth question like that.
Those questions are so deep. For my answer, I'll tell you this. For my answer early on in my career, I shared everything with my wife.
Oh, wow.
And where I went wrong was I made the decision for her that it was enough for her to hear.
Oh,
okay.
And then it grew into not telling her anything. And then it grew into pretty much having an alternate life. Like it was another relationship, basically. And so much so that, I love my wife to death. We're married over 25 years now. And she decided to go into law enforcement to learn what I was going through.
Oh, wow.
And she joined the police academy as I was going through leaving my department the first time and coming back. And they fucked with her so bad in that academy.
God.
Because we went to a regional police academy. So 17, 18 departments go to one academy.
Okay.
And those instructors in there, 2 of them were from my agency and 2 of them were from her agency. And they fucked with her to get to me every fucking day. They tried to fail her out in firearms. They tried to scrub her out of the police academy, and they were unsuccessful. And in true Nick fashion, I was the one that gave her certificate on the stage, and they gave instructions to all of them that you are to go up there, you're to hand your certificate and walk away. And I did not do that. I fucking gave her a fucking pound, and I turned around and I was like, fucking you rock, And they were pissed about that. But
tough shit.
Yeah. Then she, because she was on the sheriff's side, so she was in the jail. And so she didn't work the road, but she got to see a lot of the stuff in the jail. And what's funny is I would never work in the fucking jail. You couldn't pay me enough to go in there, and she was doing that job.
Yeah.
So tremendous amount of respect for her. But she learned so much of why I had such a self-destructive behavior and what my behavior was towards the end of my career, so much so that she wrote her own book about it from a spouse's point of view.
Wow.
Is it up?
It's this one. It's called
Yeah, go ahead and plug it.
Two Sides to Every Line by Nicole Ruggiero.
Ooh.
And it's a very poignant book. I mean, I loved her book, and I'm not just saying it because I funded it. But
so buy 2 copies, one for you and one to give away. You can find that on Amazon.
Yeah, Daddy's got to eat. So my answer is a little bit differently because my wife joined the profession, and I got to give it to her because she was working overnights in the jail, and they were fucking with her. And she, in her true New York City fashion, because she's from New York just like I am, and she refused to leave. And then when she did decide to leave, then they tried to go after her and sue her for her police academy money. And they tried to sue her for prorated. I think it was like $10,000.
Oh my God!
And what's interesting is that she went out on medical. Yes, she went out on mental leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a clinician, a psychiatrist, and a therapist tell her that she was mentally not okay to become a cop, to be a cop anymore.
Yeah.
And they said, we want you to pay us $10,000 prorated for the academy. I said, okay, tell them that you're coming back and give you your gun back. As soon as she did that, they were like, you know what? You're good.
Yeah,
you don't need to give us the $10,000. It's like, it's the dumbest fucking thing. So all of you listening out there, if you ever want to leave law enforcement, just go see a psychiatrist or a therapist and tell them that you mentally can't be a cop anymore.
But watch what they're going to do. They'll try to open up an IA on you for anything they can find to then fire you in lieu of being retired.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while you were here,
that's why that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nick.
That's why that PTSD. That PTSD disability is a big issue for them because, and I've said this a couple of times. I don't know if I said it on this show or on my show or somebody's show. I said, eventually we're going to need to get to a 15-year pension. And a couple of folks are like, oh, I don't see that ever happening. You're going to see that happen. When PTSD becomes a disability, you're going to have to make 15-year pensions.
Yeah.
Because these municipalities are going to have to figure out a way to get what they can get out of you. And if it's 15 years, it's better than 5 years. And that's the way it's going to have to be. 15 years with a 45% payout or a 50% payout is better than paying you 66 2/3 untaxed for the rest of your life plus medical.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to figure out a way. They'll figure out a way. The FOP is not strong enough to pass it like on a national legislative way. And it needs to be addressed because there are legitimate people that have PTSD that's debilitating that they can't work anymore.
Right.
And of course, you know it as well as I do, folks, meaning Mark and Turk, you know that there's going to be pieces of shit within our profession that are going to use that to get out of being a cop. And they're going to ruin it for everybody else. Because I can name 5 right from my old agency are going to be the first ones at the fucking disability window. Like, I got 2 paper cuts. I got trauma from that. I could never handle paper.
Right.
I need PTSD disability.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I digress.
That's all right. So let me have my little hitch here, then we'll go on to the next one. When I first became a police officer, I was told, don't share any of this. Mm-hmm. Just because I felt and I was told, by an old hat, don't share the gory stuff. Or I was very minimalist with my wife as well. And it's like, if you don't tell anything, you're protecting her. So I never shared shit with her other than, did you have a good night? Oh yeah, we had some fun, talked about the fun stuff we did on shift, but I never talked about the traumas, the stuff that really bothered me, the gore,
Right.
So it eventually caused a lot of, I don't want to say separation, but I really don't know a better term. It just wasn't a lot of bonding over that.
Right.
And with my young ones now, I still teach at the police academy. I tell them all, I said, they may not understand what you're seeing or be able to comprehend the things that you're experiencing, but they know you.
Right.
That's where I also felt that the second half I overheard a little bit of our Wives on the Line episode and where they were discussing that sometimes some of the wives want to know.
Yes.
But the first responder isn't ready to talk about it yet. And sometimes that level of pressure, I don't want to talk about that. I'm going to tell you, but there's always a time, a time and a place for it.
Right.
And and just find that balance with your spouse to be able to, share those experiences.
And that's kind of where I was going to go, Mark, exactly. Like there's you end up choosing a pattern, a path to go. I'm not going to share much or like Turk, or I'm going to share every damn thing like Nick, or somewhere in between. But it just seems like there's a cost, a consequence for no matter what your path is. It's hard to find a perfect way to handle that, answering that question. So I just would like to wonder, Turk, Nick, Mark, the path that you chose for sharing with your wife and your children, your family, what was the cost of it? What did it cost you to make that decision?
That's another great question.
You know, my wife and I are super strong with one another. We've been together since high school. Mm-hmm. And so I don't necessarily think that the choice that I made was a negative impact.
Okay.
But I think it kind of put a hitch in our giddy up. And there was a period of time we had to kind of overcome and make up. At one point, she did ask me to go to a counselor with her. Mm-hmm. And we sat down. And the issue was kind of that the counselor I just wasn't jiving with. She was way too bubbly. And so I responded to her, but I don't think that I really put a lot out there. And at the end of the session, she really said, I don't think that, Turk, you need to be here. Like, I think you're okay. And we'll continue talking with your wife, but I don't think that you need to be here. And I said, okay. And I think that kind of put a delay is the word that I'm looking for in our relationship progression. Mm-hmm. But like I said, we're very, very strong with one another, and I think that we're doing all right. So
very good. So if there was a cost, really you worked your way through it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Awesome. How about you, Nick? What was the cost of telling your wife every damn thing?
Well, I mean, without going into too much, without my wife being on here with me.
Right.
I mean, there was a point when I was leaving my department that, I mean, my whole personal life was crashing. Like, I almost lost my wife. I was making really, really bad decisions. Really, really, I was just in such a self-destructive mode. And I think Mark could speak to this too. When I was a sergeant, I really loved my people. When you worked for me, I protected you like you were one of my kids.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife knew everything about you. My wife knew the conversations we had. My wife knew when you pissed me off. My wife knew how I protected people's jobs. My wife knew everything about everybody that worked for me. And I think that took a toll because I took it super personally when I did leave and nobody was there. Like, I think she took it just as hard because she saw how emotionally invested I was.
Right.
And for her, and she's, I mean, our wives are always right. I mean, they see things 10 steps before we see them,
Isn't that the truth?
It is, because she was telling me the whole entire time towards the end, you're too invested. You're too emotionally invested. And when I left my department the first time on good terms, she was the one that told me. She was like, don't go back. And I said, nah, I'm going back. I miss my people. They miss me. I miss being a sergeant. I miss doing all this stuff. And she was like, this is a bad idea. You left for a reason. This is a bad idea. You had a clean break. And I should have fucking listened to her. Yeah. I should have listened to her. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would have slept on it. I would have taken a month and just thought about it. So the cost was, it affected my relationship.
Big time.
Affected big time my wife's trust in me. It affected a lot of things.
Basic stuff.
And you don't see that stuff. Yeah, you don't see it until it's like over.
Right.
And now with the job that I'm at now, I really listen to her a lot. Like, I'm the same way I was. Like, so, I've got a lot of people that work underneath me now.
Yeah.
But on a national level.
Yeah.
And she knows everything about every person that works for me at the company that I work for. And she'll tell me, she's like, you care too much. You need to care less. Don't be careless. Just care less.
Pull back.
And she's 100%. She's 100% right. Yeah. Because my expectation for people is up here.
Yeah.
When really, for them to be dynamite is here.
Yeah.
And I have to constantly do an evaluation and kind of be like, you're expecting too much from people.
Yeah.
Your output. And this is something that I used to tell people when I was a cop to my peers that were sergeants. You've got cheetahs, panthers up here, and then you've got like zebras down here. Like, there are different people in the wild. They don't all perform the same. You're not going to get a group of 5 people that are all fucking panthers. you do need the zebras. Those are the ones that you need to go to calls for service and do nice reports.
Yes.
But when you need to put somebody in a plainclothes car and knock some heads in, I need my Panthers. But you have to be able to understand that not everybody operates at that same level, you know?
Right.
So kind of went off on a tangent again, but that's kind of where, I know.
I even forgot. You've been talking so long, I forgot what the fuck the question was.
The question was, how many
Nick,
have you let go versus how many are still in your basement?
Nick, a big thing with that though is I think in law enforcement, our spouses, whether it's husbands, wives, or whatever, they're very keen, they're very smart.
Yep.
They, like you said, they're soaking all this stuff in, and they know all the stuff that you know.
Yep.
They seem to be very quiet until it's time to speak up, and we as police officers are too stupid to understand that. And so when they finally speak up, we don't listen to it the first time, not knowing they've been processing this for weeks and months, and they've got the answer right there for us. We just need to listen to it.
And we don't want to hear what we don't want to don't want to do.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Well,
cops hate change and hate the way that things are.
Right. Right. Well, and then one fact is women process information quicker than men do anyway. Susan and I were talking last night at dinner, and she's like 10 steps ahead of me, and I'm like, the fat kid toddling along. I'm like, you're going to have to give me a minute here to process what we just talked about so I can get caught up in our conversation. Yeah. But the cost...
I envision Mark at the dinner table with an abacus.
Yes. The cost for me is it was just not sharing.
Yeah.
And I that's probably one of my biggest regrets throughout my career is I didn't create that partnership with her. Compared to where we are today to where we were, 10 years ago, I can remember just her and I just living together and just not having any conversation about nothing. Like, what do you want for dinner? Chicken? Okay. And just sit there and having a meal and just really not talking about anything of substance.
Yeah.
I like Nick. I was also heavily invested in my crew.
Yeah.
They were kind of like they were my extended family because most of them I'm still friends with today. 3 years after leaving, 2 years after leaving the job. I'm proud to be able to share the microphone on the Shield Within with Kelly, which is one of my officers. I feel really responsible. Due to our critical incident, that was the one. Right. As you well know, David, we've spent a lot of money together.
Yeah.
Working through that.
Right.
That's something that I'm heavily vested in with her and Dan and Jim.
Yeah.
You go through a critical incident like that, you develop a bond with those people, and I don't ever see them not being in my life.
Right.
From this point forward. But, Susan was out of town when that happened. She was at a client. She was out west, and I think she was in Utah. And that was something else that really fucked me up. What if I'd have got put down that day? What if I didn't survive that incident?
Yes.
The quickest she could get home would be 5 days.
Wow.
How the hell do you pick up and leave, So, that fucked with me. And then, I was home alone dealing with all that on my own. So that was just deep embedded trauma. But her and I worked through that. Her and I talk about it through the beauty of EMDR and the stellate ganglion block. That episode is healed.
Yeah.
You know as well as I do how many times we've been sitting around here in the studio, and I would get fired up or choked up or teared up or whatever the hell you talk about, when that happens. But the cost is that I feel that it is detrimental to a marriage by not having your partner there to lean on.
Yeah, absolutely. And
100%.
Yeah. The support, the connection there is vital. And your kids, connecting to your kids and maintaining those connections.
Absolutely.
Vital.
Yeah.
Connections with friends that aren't in law enforcement, your family, etc. Vital. Keep a hobby that you had when you were 15 and 20 when you started to be academy. Keep that going. If that's playing the bass, if it's stand up, whatever it is, man. those are the things that help keep you sane as you walk this path. And so often what I saw happen with all my first responders, all flavors, was the result of not sharing was isolation.
Oh, yeah.
And isolation compounds everything that's going on that's negative.
Times 10. Yes.
Your thought patterns get totally trapped and looped, and you can't get out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Your emotions get really stuck, easily triggered. You don't even know why.
Is that your hooker crying out there, Nick? Put a little more tape on that and quiet her down. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry. That was inappropriate.
Part of the cost I see is isolation. And isolation then terrible. Becomes its own, creating its own cost, and it just compounds itself and gets more and more difficult to get out of.
Okay, I have a question for Nick and Turk. We're talking about isolation and negativity. So how rampant was negativity at your department, Turk? Go.
Yeah, terrible. It was god awful. And, I've talked before about how I would get negative pretty easily and not realize why. I realize now why that was.
Yeah.
But there was one person in particular that I hated working with, not because they were a bad guy, but because I could have won $1 million and got a blowjob the night before and had the best meal when I woke up. I knew that 5 minutes with being with this person at work was going to be incredibly negative, and my whole day was going to be ruined. And the problem was that I served on 3 different programs with him, where he was doing the same things that I was doing. So even when I was going to training, I was stuck with him.
Oh my God!
And that made it even worse, gearing up going from home to work, because I knew I'm about to have a real shitty negative day.
Soul sucker there, wasn't he? Nick?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the same. I mean, when I was a sergeant, I unfortunately always had one soul sucker working for me, and they were just a cancer. They were an absolute cancer. And the interesting part is that if you had known me when I was on the job, I was literally the most jovial person. I was never negative about the job.
Yeah.
Even up until the day that I left the first time, I didn't have a negative thing to say other than the chief that ultimately was removed was detrimental to that department. And I left it at that. I never complained down. I never, ever complained. That was a rule of mine that I still keep to this day at the job that I have now. I never complain down. I always complain up.
Yep.
And, I think in law enforcement, there's always that person on a shift.
Yes.
There's always that negative person, like Turk said. Doesn't matter what you do, what you give them. I've led teams that were, specialized units where they had the pick of their schedule. Always a person that complained about something. They wanted a different uniform, or the uniform that we have isn't comfortable, or, why do we have to work till 6? We should work till 5. Or stupid shit. Just stupid things when you look back at it and you're like, dude, you got the best job in the world.
Exactly.
Why are you so negative? Why
you're making a lot of money? You got a great job. They write movies and TV shows about this profession. Well, shut up. I've had one before. I'm just like, do you bitch this much at home? You want to talk to their spouse. Is this all this guy is just,
Well, and it's just interesting that you say that, because the majority of those that are so negative are the ones that work so many hours because they don't want to be home.
Exactly.
They don't want to be home.
Fuck this place.
Yeah, and you're
dude,
like,
you hear double shifts. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry.
Yeah, your family doesn't want you fucking home. Yeah. You're a miserable. If you're this way with people that are not your family, I can almost imagine how you're a miserable prick when you're home.
Unimaginable.
Unimaginable. And it's indicative. It doesn't matter what part of the country you work in.
Right.
Every department has the tactical Tommy. Everybody's got the negative Nancy. Everybody's got the same people in their organizations that just cut from a different cloth, and they're wearing a different cloth.
Yeah, same department, different patch is what we say
here.
It
really is. It really is. You go to Police Week. It's the most. It's a memorial that whole week. But you'll go to Tent City and you'll see at least 15 of them that are just pricks.
Yeah.
You're just like, you're a fucking prick. You're miserable to be around.
Yeah.
No wonder why your mom sent you here.
They needed the break.
Yeah.
Gee, I'm sorry. I don't want to mess up your bad time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Jeez, man. Golly.
We had a cake while you were gone.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is no kidding. This reminds me of a story before I got to my former agency. They had a chief on there that they all hated so much that when he left, they threw a party that did not invite him. They were celebrating him going out the door. They were all so happy when he finally left. I'm like, man.
Anybody that's listening to this, if you walk into a room and people stop laughing or talking, you're a prick.
Yeah, they're talking about you. Exactly.
100%. So if you're wondering if it's you, it is.
Or if you don't know who the person is that's on the radio all the time, maybe you better look inside.
Yeah.
What else you got for us, Dr. David?
Do we have enough time?
Yeah, sure. Roll on.
Right.
What do we got there? We good, Nick?
Yeah, 5 moments.
All right.
Okay.
10 or
There
20.
was something at the end of the last episode, Turk, that felt really common ground for Mark and Nick and I, all four of us, that cops really need to be more supportive of each other. They need to be there for each other. But my experience is that is not what happens. I mean, I'd have to say, honestly, the stories of what happens on duty, those are incredible. Mm-hmm. But the stories about what cops are doing to each other to fuck each other are more incredible to me.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm still amazed when I hear them. It blows me. I did not hear that from my veterans in the Army, Afghanistan, Iraq. They did not tell me stories about how they were all fucking each other with each other's mates. I mean, there's just so much of that goes on. I heard that and I thought, dude, you're right. But reality is that doesn't happen. Sometimes the hardest people on cops are other cops.
Oh, yeah.
Reactions?
Turk.
Oh, let me gear up on this one. Okay. So I think that it's two very big things. One, you've got guys that today they don't know what camaraderie is. Mm-hmm. They don't know what this shit means back here. And I've got a good story about this that I'll tell one day. They're so concerned about themselves and they want to escalate their career that they will do whatever they can to cover your star to make theirs look brighter because of the inadequacies that they have.
Exactly. Yep.
The second part of that is you have admin out there who are bad at their jobs, who they feed the fuel to that fire because they know that the patrol division, the first line guys being separated are weaker than if they were together. So they're doing what they can to keep pushing down on those guys and keep creating that separation. Mm-hmm. They're not going to do anything to fix it because it makes them look better.
Right. So did you have any supervisors there that purposely launched grenades between people? Did you have anyone stirring at that level?
Yes.
You don't have to name names. Because
no, I'm trying to pull one of the many stories out. We had one guy that was, and I'll give him credit, he was smart, but his big thing was he would isolate somebody and he would tell them something and it would be a lie.
Right.
But because it was just between the two of them, there was just a he said issue.
Right.
When that person got in front of a group of people, they wouldn't lie. Or they would say, I don't remember saying that. I don't remember saying that at all. Well, you're not lying if you don't remember saying it, right? That was a big problem that we had there was that type of stuff.
We had a supervisor in my agency, and me and another officer that were there fucking hated one another. And this was a feud that went on for 8 years. And this guy just would purposely launch turds into the punch bowl just to keep that drama chummed up between me and this guy. And finally, and I was just like, fuck this guy, because he worked opposite of me. I never had to work with him, but I finally ended up being his supervisor. And instead of thinking, oh yeah, it's my turn to turn the screws on this guy, I decided, it's time to fix this. Okay. And I waited for him to get done with his lunch. I heard him mark back in service. He was on station. So I walked back there and I said, hey man. He's like, oh no, I'm clearing right now. I said, no, I need you to sit down. He's like, what's up? I said, we need to talk. So he thinks here it comes, so he's kind of like bracing for impact. And I said, no, I just want to talk about my failure as a supervisor to have fixed this before. And then I just kind of started laying it out, this and this and this. And he's like, hey, that didn't happen that way. So-and-so said this. And I'm like, see, I knew this person was, antagonizing this. Yeah. So, and as it worked out, he left. I think he worked for me for like another 6 months, and then he went to another agency. And I'm proud to say him and I are friends today. But I felt that it was horrible that a person in the supervisory role kept that drama chummed up between two officers at a police department.
Yeah.
So, Nick, all yours.
Well, I mean, Turk he said it perfectly, which is it sums up exactly why we eat our own. And you see this in agencies where the leadership is so bad, because the more infighting there is at the ground level, the less you focus on how bad the leadership is. And that's what it all really boils down to. You can tell a really cohesive agency by how strong the chief is, or how strong your command staff is.
Yeah.
Because a chief will come to roll call on a regular basis rather than being forced to, or hears rumblings that people are making fun of him or her for not coming to roll calls. And on smaller departments, there is no excuse for you not to be going to roll calls.
Oh, I agree, 100%.
Basis.
Yeah.
And that puts out rumors.
Yeah.
As a chief of police, you walk in and you say, hey, listen, I have heard this, this, and this, and that is bullshit. And it's not going to be tolerated. So if I hear somebody saying it, or you hear somebody saying it, I want to know about it. And that's how you put rumors to bed. And that doesn't happen in agencies because these chiefs are absentee. It's the telephone game. They tell their deputy chief, who then tells a captain, who then tells a lieutenant, and the lieutenant tells another lieutenant. By the time it gets down to the boot level, the story doesn't even fucking make any sense. and
today
so,
we're wearing purple pants. What?
and to Dr. Dave, you don't know what type of like retaliation there is amongst people until promotional processes or specialized unit openings happen.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
Because I just very briefly, I remember taking the sergeant's process, and I had a cruiser accident 5 years prior. So I had a cruiser accident just before I got promoted, and 5 years prior to that. And I remember that cruiser accident came up in conversation about how careless I was. And how that makes me not eligible to be a supervisor because I've crashed 2 cars in 5 years.
What?
You start seeing promotional processes and specialized units where there's this eating each other mentality, where it's like exactly like Turk said, which is that I can dimmer your star so my star looks way brighter.
Right.
And if you just had confidence in your ability to do whatever job that was, you'd have nothing to worry about. And instead what happens is you get poor leaders that get wind of these rumors or get wind of the stuff, and they go, oh shit, I forgot Nick had a cruiser accident, his second cruiser accident in 5. I totally forgot about that. You know what, that does make him not eligible for sergeant. I like this guy better.
Icarus PD, when it came time for promotions, everyone would run to get their interview with the chief because they couldn't wait to go talk about how everyone else had fucked up. And that's all the interview was. When I took my very first promotional interview and I walked in there and I actually explained why I thought I would be a good corporal or a good sergeant, the chief actually looked confused because he'd been so used to people coming in there and saying, well, Turk's a fuck off. He missed training that one day, or he was late that one day, or Jimmy's a moron. He can't find his way around the city, things like that. That's what they're used to at this point.
Right. Which is sad.
For me, For me, when I was the sergeant of the community policing unit, I put on so many community events. It was hilarious when the sergeants, lieutenants, and captains' processes would come out. I would never see these fucking jokers come to any of my community events.
Yes.
And then there you see the chief shows up for a community event, and these motherfuckers are in their core frams and their fucking their nicely pleated pants and a fucking crease down their sleeve so sharp you could cut somebody, and they're getting out of their cruiser, and you're thinking that they're in like some sort of fucking music video or something, and you're like. And I would just sit there, and all of my guys that worked for me, I would poke them. I would be like, "Watch this, watch him get down and suck this chief's dick for the next 20 minutes." Wow. It's pitiful.
Had a guy.
I never did that.
We had a guy that never once picked up overtime, never once did a community event, but when it came time for the chief spot opened up, he showed up at the largest event there was and walked up and down every aisle of every people handing out stickers to the kids, because that's what fixes community relations now, is stickers with kids.
I thought it was cookouts.
You can
You're gonna get me started.
Oh man, you guys need to be on YouTube to see the look on Nick's face when I launch that fucking grenade.
I've never heard you so quiet, Nick.
Oh no, it's getting ready to erupt. But good thing we only got 5 minutes left.
Cookouts fix crime like pizza parties fix morale.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I had a commander. I mentioned that he has his own chapter in my first book for positional equity leader. He is a prime example of it. And he was a deputy chief. He got demoted down to a captain in my old agency. And then he retired. No retirement party. No one would have showed up anyway. And now he's working at the sheriff's department of the city. And he's doing the same things he did over at my old agency where everybody hated him. Yeah. He shows up at every community event with core frams on and, chummy with all of the citizens and powwowing with all the kids. But these people have no conception whatsoever that he's a poisonous pill. He's a poisonous pill.
And they won't fucking listen either.
No, they don't. They get their perceptions and, he's really a good guy. Well,
he's only tanked the last 4 departments that he's been at, or the past 4 cities that he's been at, but we're going to give him another chance.
Yeah.
Because his resume looks good.
He's the kind of guy because when I got hired at the department, he was a sergeant. And every specialized unit that he went to, people jump ship. And the way that poor leaders look at that is they don't look at it as that the leader is wrong.
Right.
They look at it and they go, look at how great he is.
Yeah.
Look at how he is getting rid of dead weight.
Yeah.
But not looking at the fact that the people that are jumping ship are the top performers.
Yeah.
Like and Mark and Turk can relate to this. If I'm in street crimes and I jump from street crimes to go back to midnight patrol, something's wrong, right?
Oh yeah.
Something is seriously wrong.
Yeah, because street crimes are in plain clothes. You have an unmarked car.
Beard.
Oh yeah.
You get to wear a beard. You get to, you get a fucking rental car. I mean, it's great. But this was what that guy was. He was the cancer. And he was in internal investigations when my shit went down. He was the fucking commander. He was the guy that I talked about on the podcast.
Wow.
I was like, as soon as I found out I was under investigation, I was like, yeah, I'll be out soon.
Hey, when he investigated you though, did he make you go to your house and collect evidence and not wear his body cam while he was doing that? And
no, he didn't do that to me. He was actually quite the opposite.
The people that know is what I'm saying.
He used 2 fingers before he slammed it in. He was very, very generous. Yeah. He was very generous. He was a gentle lover.
But he didn't violate 6 policies while investigating you to then try to get you fired, is what you're doing.
But here's the thing about that. You're not allowed to bring up that stuff because it's rules for thee, not for me. And it's a perpetual fuckery. It's a perpetual, like, don't worry about what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. You do what I tell you to do. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we've talked about it many times on RCR and on this podcast as well, as is the moment that you become self-aware, the moment that you put that drink of Kool-Aid down and you question stuff, you're out.
Oh yeah.
It's like, give me my shirt back. You're out of the club.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you do that, you're labeled disgruntled.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Don't listen to him. He's disgruntled, 100%. And you know,
100%. That's what they do. That's what they do on the show and our social media posts. They're like, he's just disgruntled because he's no longer with the agency.
So
partially.
So for the both of you, and you know, this is a conversation Nick and I have had privately, so I don't kind of feel bad saying that, but you know, I've been observing more and more about the fragmented thin blue line, and I really keyed in on what Nick said earlier about how toxic managers will like to keep that chummed up, so you know, you don't have a good unity amongst the patrol ranks to be able to say, hey, you know, this is bullshit. So you know, as soon as you get a good thing going, I remember being pulled into the office because, you know, at Christmas time I would take my crew out to an expensive restaurant, you know, drinks, food. I bought them personalized gifts. One year I had them little, you know, the little car models made up, had their name on the door, and it was their car and things like that. And I gave them all gifts and things and the like. So then there's a Irish pub here in Dayton, Ohio. It's called the Dublin Pub. It's a great place. So one night I took my crew out there. Then we went over to a bourbon bar, where they're not paying me to advertise, but it's also called the Century Bar. It's been there for over 100 years. So my crews come back and we're talking about what a good time they were having. About 2 days later, I get pulled into the chief's office. We need to talk. And I said, yeah, what about what? I kind of like your relationship with you and your crew.
Fraternization.
Well, yeah, and he's like, he called me the occult of personality, and I'm like, oh, you mean like the song, you know, the In Living Color song. I'm like, what does that mean? Well, you're kind of like the occult of personality. I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying to me. Well, and that's what
either.
Yeah, I know. He probably saw it in some IACP literature somewhere to use that, but. The point he was trying to make was that I was too close to my crew, and I'm like, no, I'm not. You know, we go out and we have fun, but they know if they fuck something up, I'll be the first one there to, you know, crack them. Mm-hmm. You know, that's you're wrong there. And then what I come to find out later was that his boy, the heir apparent, was complaining because his crew didn't get treated that way, and my crew was kind of like, oh yeah, well, Sarge picked up the tab and we had a great time, and we drank him up a $200 bar bill. Oh, you know, so they were like, well, our boss doesn't do that, so that's why he wanted me to stop with my crew, so right. His dude, you know, didn't have to answer to that.
Be a better leader.
Yeah, exactly. Be
a better leader.
Yeah, well, yeah, be a better leader. But he's not a leader. He's a manager. He didn't understand that you build that relationship, you know, and whenever, you know, and it was shitty, you know, to order my guys in. The one guy, I called him one day. He's like, hey, man, what's up? Because, you know, we just called the bullshit. And I said, I'm really sorry you answered the phone. He's like, why? I said, because I got to order you in. He's like, motherfucker, are you serious? I said, man, I am so sorry. I said, when you get here, we'll talk. He's like, all right. So he gets there, and he's pissed because he had to cancel personal plans. I said, look, dude, here's what I want you to do. You see my phone? You see my number on your phone? He's like, yeah. I said, take a shot. Don't answer. Let it ring. Pour your shot. Throw it back. He's like, I like the way you think, Sarge. I'm like, well, yeah, it's 8 hours bottle to the throttle. So in the future, so this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
David, how are we doing on time? We're good?
I think we're at 108.
Time to wrap it up. Well, Turk, thank you.
Yes. Yep. Nice to meet you, Turk.
It's a pleasure having you on. Best of luck with your show. It's fun getting on social media and fucking with you in the morning.
I love it. I need someone there to talk to me. So,
hey, I just hit like.
You just hit like someone keeps hopping on and then hopping right back off. It must be one of you guys that just hit the like button or something. But
that's me
taking
that's
a screenshot.
No, I like to fuck with you, and I like your post, and then I unlike it, and then I like it again.
Do ya? So that I keep getting notifications throughout the day. I gotcha.
I was wondering if it worked. I'm so glad it worked because I do it intentionally.
I turn that shit off.
I wanted you to be like, "Oh, he liked my stuff. Oh, wait, why do you unlike it? Oh, we like it again. Okay." That, or I wanted you to think I was having a stroke.
Somebody call the medics on Nick. He's stroking out over there. Something's not right.
So, Turk, what do you guys got coming up in the future with your show?
Yeah, so we've got this one, obviously, and then in 2 days, we're going to be talking with the guys over at Risen Warrior again. We're going to be doing an interview with them. I don't know how long. It might be a 1-part or a 2-parter. After that, we're kind of open. We're just going to keep pushing on and trying to grow the audience as much as we can. We're going to keep trying to recover what we had, basically, since before getting canceled and that issue that popped up with Icarus. But
do you want to talk about your what do you got going on? Your national giveaway campaign you got going?
So basically what we're doing is I'll 100% honest. I was pretty bummed out when that first page got canceled because we'd put so much work into it. Mm-hmm. And one of the stepping stones that we had, I was starting to get notifications of, hey, your memories a year ago, you were doing this. Oh, and yeah. I looked at it and I thought I could either be negative about it or I could try to turn this shit positive because that's what we want to do with the podcast is be positive. Mm-hmm. And I decided, you know what, we're going to start giving away stuff. And if that's the way we get listeners to come in, great. And our hit from Icarus is going to be your guys' gain. So it's a real simple giveaway. If you go over to the Facebook page and you like and you follow it and you share it, and then you like and you follow the podcast, at certain steps, we're going to be doing giveaways. And once we get some of our numbers back, we're going to do a mini grand prize. And then once we hit 1,000 and more, we're going to do a grand prize. And it's just going to be kind of a box of swag. So no pun with swagger. Yeah, swagger's not going to be showing up on your door.
With his new kid from Manscaped.
I haven't told him that yet. Oh, yeah. I'm going to need you to start chirping, buddy. No, we're going to be giving away some stuff. And I kind of want it to be a little bit of a surprise is what it is. Some of the stuff is going to be stuff you guys can't buy. I think we got to have that allure, but we know the support's out there. We felt that support and we just want to give back because of that support.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you said Risen Warrior Coffee. Nick, you had a little brief dance with the coffee biz, right?
Yes, I did.
So I had reached out to Kayla about doing some like a Shield Within blend.
Okay.
So I thought that would be kind of fun to do.
Cool.
So I think she's sending me some samples, and then we talked about that. So hopefully we can get something put together there.
Yeah, I'll bend her ear in a couple days here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nick, what do you got to wrap us up with?
Just a new co-host. Guys,
he's a douche.
Okay. Yeah, I drop mics like it's hot. So I got that. Rollcallroom.com.
Oh, that's funny.
I will Mike to Mark.
Mike to Mark. I just like the M&Ms. But I will say this: I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing, Turk. So this is what I am going to do. The Roll Call Room will donate a piece of swag from our sponsor, manscaped.com, for you to give away. I will talk to you offline what we're going to donate to you to give away for swag.
Well, thank you.
So that's one of our sponsors, big sponsor. You got to treat the balls right.
They'll thank you. Is there a promo code?
Promo code Roll Call Room will get you 20% off at manscaped.com. That's Roll Call Room at manscaped.com.
It's a nice kit. It really is.
It's a fucking great kit.
It is. So, David, wind us up, buddy. Hit us out of the park.
Thanks to Nick. Thanks to Turk. listen into Roll Call Room, listen to Spinning Our Gears. Hello to Swagger, wherever you might be.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. We have show and tell. For
those of you who aren't watching the video podcast, no, Swagger did not just pop up under my table. Nick was showing off the Manscaped merch. Okay.
Oh, we thought Swagger was down there shaving you.
A live demonstration of ball spray.
Why do I feel like I just lost a co-host?
You need advice on that? I'm here.
Well, as long as he doesn't launch his own podcast.
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry. Shots fired.
No, that was well played.
Very well.
Thanks to you all, and we appreciate all the time y'all spent, all the things y'all are doing. We share the good news with all the folks that are listening to us as well. Mm-hmm. Your shows get highlighted, as well as Joe Terry's Chip Terry Fund, which we are strong endorsers of. That organization does some great stuff. So thank you both. Continue to do what you're doing, and we're going to point people in your direction.
Well, thank you.
Cool. All right. Thank you for having us all on. And remember, don't go see the Titanic. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Are we going to get the Dr. David sign off? That's the best part of the show.
Oh, shoot. I shut it off.
Well, you're going to. No, we're going to. One thing we do is say, Donnie Key, the music.
May your days and nights find you strong and safe. May you take your place as your family's face. As you do the shit that we won't do. As you embrace the risk you must go through. May you grow in strength and heal and find your heart, your soul, and your mind. You look at your life and grin. You have a home, the shield within.